What's up, boys? Got another video for you. Get a lot of questions about vehicle and basic setups for family members, friends, people that aren't necessarily carrying around a backpack or anything inside their trunk except maybe one of those flimsy jack stands and a spare donut. I know quite a large amount of people, or have heard stories or been asked, why do you keep all that junk in your car? Well, 9 out of 10 times you're not going to need something like that, but in an extremely cold environment, or God forbid, your vehicle breaks down in the middle of nowhere and you have no food, no water, and you're very low on gas. So I'm going to talk primarily about a little giftable, or it could be your entry into setting up an emergency kit for your vehicle. I'm not really going to elaborate on everything inside of my vehicle. I'm going to start with the kit, and then at some point I'll break down my trunk and what I keep for emergency application. So I think to start toolkit wise, I like to start with a container. Now, you could use an old backpack, you could use just a plastic tote, you could use whatever you wish, but if you're gifting this to somebody, I suggest keeping it extremely simple. I like these little dollar store drawstring backpacks. Sometimes you can get them with a zipper, most of the time it's just a cinch. With these little bags, you get them in different colors. You can get them at dollar store, Dollar Tree, Dollar General, whatever your dollar. You can get them at Walmart as well, actually. Whatever your local place is, you can find these on Amazon as well. Don't spend a bunch on these. This is just mainly something to put your implements in and then keep it in either the back seat, your truck bed, your trunk, wherever you store this. I would suggest, however, if you're going to store everything inside of a bag, put the bag into another thing. A water sealed container or something that has an additional way to keep the elements out. If you're in a really cold or really wet environment, definitely keep an eye on the contents. Make sure everything, if it has an expiration date on it, make sure you check it every once in a while. So container, bag. A couple of the other primary things, I would say illumination, a flashlight, a headlamp. I don't have any cheap options readily available to show you, but a cheap Petzl headlamp, maybe I'll intercut a screenshot of Amazon or somewhere. Keep it under $10 or $15. Something that is micro USB or USB-C rechargeable with an internal battery is okay, as long as you're not storing it in an extremely warm or extremely cold environment. Again, have a preventative maintenance schedule, so know if you're leaving it in there for 2 or 3 years, you're going to have to recharge the batteries. It's just part and parcel to anything you're leaving in your car that's pressurized or has some sort of electronic component or a lithium charge or is pressurized inside of your vehicle. You're going to have to keep an eye on it. So headlamp, flashlight, both if you can, and then a battery bank. You can get cheap tube ones, again, 15, 20 bucks. Doesn't have to be expensive, and an additional cable of whatever type, your cell phone, whatever type inputs that those flashlights and batteries take. That's top priority. So communications, backup battery that is separate from the charger and cable that you keep in your vehicle. Now that I've addressed that component, I'm going to talk about cutting implement. These are just a couple cheap folding razor blades. I got this hyper tough one at Walmart, and this is an anvil, HDX, whatever you want to call it. This is from Home Depot. You just want something that's inexpensive that you can cut, something that you're not going to dull your primary blade, or maybe you don't have a primary blade. These are $3-4. I put a little loop of paracord on them and stick them in this bag. Container for water. So I really like Nalgene bottles. Not only are they extremely durable, you can pack these with snow if it's in a cold environment. I would say whatever you're doing with a container for water, make sure either you're not leaving it full of water or you have a secondary purification method, whether it be fire, iodine tablets, some sort of water additive. Don't leave water, even if it's in a BPA-free container, don't leave water in your vehicle in the hot. It's just gross. Yeah, you could, filter it, you could boil it. Just don't, have a method or cycle out your water. Don't leave water in a bottle in your car for a long period of time. So I like these Nalgene bottles. You can get these for $10, $15. They come in various different sizes, different spouts, different lids. You can get some, maybe not Nalgene branded, but Camelback, other brands that you can fit a life straw in, but a container for water. Alternatively, for a similar price, you can also get Sawyer 1 and 2 gallon bags. This is their 2-gallon bag. It's got a large open fill port and then a secondary one that you can put an inline Sawyer micro water filter on. So this is the 2-gallon one, and this is their 1-gallon. I think these are anywhere from $10 to $20. Again, secondary to your Nalgene, you could have a steel canteen or something that you keep. I like to have something that I can keep gray water in, purify it, and then transfer it to a secondary known clean or known good container. So water, not filtration, just water storage. On top of a cutting implement and a container, we also like to keep cordage. I prefer to keep a couple rolls of a micro line around, as well as a hank or a large spool of 550 cord. You can get 550 cord pretty much anywhere. This is an Atwood 100-foot hank of 550 cord. The amount of things you can do with cordage and line, this mixed with a tarp creates an improvised shelter. This with a bivy bag, it's infinite. Yes, I have used this, but cordage of some type. Have cordage in your vehicle. You never know when you might need it. Again, 10, 15 bucks. So we covered cutting, container, and cordage. So we're gonna move to combustion. There's many, many ways to skin this cat. You've got your cheap UCO stormproof matches, roughly, $5 to $10 for a large pack of them. They also make the Titan. UCO makes Titan matches. They're giant. Comes in a waterproof container. Has a small amount of tinder on top. These will light, I think, for a minute, and you can dunk them directly underwater. Ferro rod and striker. I believe this is a 𝚂𝚑𝚋𝚘𝚋𝚜 ferro rod and striker. This is an Exotac one. They're jumbo, so I think this is a replaceable, so when you wear it down, you can pop a new one on there. Striker built directly into the lanyard. This is actually my second one. We went through the first one already. This is a Texas Bushcraft fire starter kit. Comes with wax cotton tinder, PE fishing line, and a wax thread. I'm not going to take it out of there, but great. You can get these on Amazon for 20 bucks. This is a Blackbeard fire starter char log. It's like a extremely combustible material. Tried everything from the Light My Fire pellets. I've tried Exotac tinder. This stuff is awesome, as long as you keep it dry, so I don't take it out of the packaging. I can't remember what I paid for this. You don't necessarily need to have a tinder, but if you're going to use a tinder, I would recommend something like that. The Exotac Fatwood shavings or something, so if you need to start a fire, you have something that's 100% dry. Yes, you could use cotton, a bandana, you could use something, a piece of clothing. Vaseline and cotton balls works very well. You just need to store it and keep it separated from the elements. While these might not be what people would typically think of for fire starting methods, I really think that just a Bic lighter and either a tea light candle or these Exotac 6 or 8 hour emergency candles is a fantastic option. So while all of this cool guy bushcraft fire making stuff is really great, if you're just in your vehicle during a snowstorm or a heavy weather event where you can't move your vehicle and you're stuck in a ditch or something, one of these tri-core candles, if you light this and you just leave this in the main cabin for 6 to 8 hours, this will keep you warm versus keeping your vehicle on. This will keep it above freezing and you won't die in your car. This is a great option. These are fantastic. They are a little bit more expensive, absolutely worth their weight in an active emergency. Exotac emergency candles. You can get these online, Cabela's, sporting goods stores. Most places have them, or you can go directly to their website. So that was fire, combustion, heat, and things of that nature. Obviously, just a Bic lighter, a Zippo, something cheap. You toss one of those in there, and a secondary option. I would say if you're going to buy one Bic, buy two. Just have a separate backup. So we've covered combustion, container, cutting, cordage, and now we're going to cover. There's a ridiculous amount of products to keep yourself from being exposed to the elements. There's your basic SOL emergency blanket, another emergency blanket clone. This is a heat reflective poncho, 2-person poncho blanket. It's a little bit thicker, and then an outdoor tarp style. You could choose a tarp from the dollar store with some bungees. It doesn't matter. Have something to protect yourself from a weather event, snow, rain, something to give you an insulating layer. I like the SOL products because it's a known good product from a known good company. They work. I've not used them to save my life, but I've used them in an instance to keep myself warm, and they absolutely work. They're worth the $9 to $40, and that's not even talking about the bivy bags. However, they do break, they can rip. They are not multi-use unless you're extremely delicate with them. Even then, they can rip and break. I would suggest having some sort of duct tape. These are small micro emergency rolls. Have a couple of these, throw them in the bag. You'll be good to go. Also, electrical tape, duct tape, 100-mile-an-hour tape, shoe goo. There's all sorts of different everyday implements that you can add to these kits to give them a little bit more bang for their buck. Essentially, you can use super glue as an impromptu wound closure. You throw a small pre-made boo-boo kit in this. You throw a spoon, a fork, a spork. You throw some peanut butter, maybe a couple Mountain House meals or an emergency, something to eat when you're low on calories. You have your water. This stuff is more than useful enough to keep you alive for a short period of time if your vehicle were to break down, and 99% of people can use these things without being coached or taught how to do. That being said, if there's multiple people in your family, you can expand the kit based on the known amount of riders that will be inside of your vehicle. So if you know there's going to be at least a probability of 4 people being in your vehicle because it's you, your significant other, and your children, start with enough to keep you and one other person well fed for 24 hours and enough water and enough calories to keep 2 grown adults alive for that amount. And then you could slowly add to it. You don't need to have a crazy amount of stuff. And if you live in an environment that doesn't have cold weather for large portions of the year or experiences different types of natural disasters, maybe tornadoes, maybe earthquakes, you can always add or subtract things that you may or may not need. Having all of these implements, plus a way to communicate SOS, like a whistle, a flashing beacon, road flares, you can always add to this base as you build out your emergency kit. Some other things that I might recommend to people to add to the kit that might not necessarily be these type of components would be an additional change of underwear, socks. Remember, choose a sock according to your area that would be appropriate. I like merino wool, so I would pick a pair of merino wool socks, maybe an undershirt, an A-frame, wife beater style t-shirt, or a Henley, a waffle top. You could do a toque or a beanie. You could do an additional outer layer, windbreaker or jacket, anything like this that you might need in the instance that it is in your vehicle during a weather event that you were not planning for. If you didn't leave the house with an appropriate layer for the weather that you left into, it will be in your vehicle. Most of those types of clothing pack down extremely small, and while a poncho or rain layer might carry you over in extreme weather, again, you only really have these for some of these items for one use, and then once it's done, it's done. Carrying a rain jacket that you stuff into the bag, and that rain jacket will not deteriorate with use or can be given to another person, is a lot easier than spending $5 3 times when you could have just bought one $15 rain layer and left it inside of your vehicle. I didn't really touch on food. I suggested Cliff bars, snacks, things of this nature. I didn't go deep into Mountain House meals or something that requires preparation, because in the instance where you're stuck in your vehicle for maybe a day, maybe 2 days, 3 days at the most, you can stand to go without food for quite a long period of time. And yes, you will be uncomfortable, but water should be your primary focus for an extended period of time. I would much rather be hydrated and not eat for a couple days than have a bunch of food and no water. So keep that in mind. A lot of these meals that you would purchase at a sporting goods store, online, Walmart, etc., require water to heat, which means you need to either have clean water available or create clean water. So snacks, things of this nature, even candy, high calorie foods are going to be your best bet for short periods of time. So that's my recommendation for a beginner vehicle emergency setup. If you've got any questions, please let me know in the comments. Again, this is one of my first videos, so if I didn't really explain something or you have suggestions on what you add, let me know down there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Peace. If you've never gone camping or had no cell service, take a pack or two of playing cards and put that in there. You're going to thank me if you ever need them.